Evet, Pakistan ve Şam'daki son gelişmeler böyleydi. Musa Özurlu ve Levent Öztürk'ten olayları aldık. Daha doğrusu olayların detaylarını aldık. Değerli bir konuğumuz var demiştim. Stüdyomuzda Filistin'in Birleşmiş Milletler daimi temsilcisi Riyad Mansour. Kendisiyle özellikle geçen hafta Hamas ve El Fethi arasında imzalanan o tarihi anlaşmayı, bundan sonra İsrail-Filistin barış sürecinin gidişatını konuşmaya çalışacağız. Welcome to the show, Mr. Mansour.
Thank you.
Yes, we started off with the clash sites, violent sites, but as we go back to Palestinian territories, that has been a groundbreaking agreement between Hamas and El Fethi, which have been in not on good terms since 2007. What would you like to say?
Well, I would like to say that the Palestinian people were demanding to put an end to this division between the two parts of our country. And also the Arab nations were requesting a similar thing, and there is a global request as it was reflected by Security Council Resolution 1860 after the aggression and the war against our people in Gaza. And we are delighted that the Palestinian political forces reached this agreement of al-Musalaha, reconciliation, to begin the process of unifying the two wings of our country and unifying the political system of the Palestinian occupied territory.
Are you truly unified then?
Well, the desire of our people is to put an end to the division and to put an end to occupation. And there is a connection between the two of them. United Palestinian side united would strengthen our position to accomplish the objective of putting an end to occupation and therefore have independence. I believe that we've started this process. We had extensive dialogue and discussion over the last year and a half, and we received also help from many countries, particularly from Egypt, in our region among the Arab countries and others. And also Turkey played a very positive role, and we are grateful for the role of all those who played a positive role, including Turkey. At the end of this exercise, we've accomplished the agreement on principle of the reconciliation, which is the Egyptian paper, known as the Egyptian paper. And it was signed by all groups in a ceremony about 10 days ago or less in Egypt. Now, we have so many challenges, you know, and issues facing us. And we have to begin with the first item on the agenda of this Musalaha, reconciliation. And that item is to agree on a prime minister designate and to form a new cabinet that would represent and speak on behalf of the Palestinians in the occupied Palestinian territory.
Yes, so first you have to handle the division and then you have to end the occupation. This agreement has been signed, but we as the news people, let's say, have been wondering about the content of this very agreement because that hasn't been leaked to the public. So what does it envisage?
Well, this agreement has several components. The first component is to establish a new government. And this government will be a government of technocrats or independent Palestinians who are highly qualified to implement the mandate of this cabinet. And of course, we need to go through the process of agreement on the prime minister designate and then the formation of this government and to submit itself to our legislative branch to receive approval and then, you know, the swearing in before the President Mahmoud Abbas. So this is one component.
Yes.
And then it has, this government has tasks. Of course, has several tasks, but the two main tasks of this cabinet, as it was agreed upon in the agreement, is to organize for elections within maximum 1 year. Elections for three things: presidential election, for parliamentarian election, and for members of the Palestine National Council. It's like the parliament of the PLO. And the three of these elections to take place in the same time. That's one major responsibility. The other major responsibility is to begin the process of the reconstruction of Gaza, which would require, of course,
money.
The implementation of Resolution 1860 to put an end to the blockade. The money, I don't think that we have a problem with the money, because we had a conference.
Israel has so far cut your taxes.
Yes, but let me just say, with regard to the reconstruction, we had a conference in Sharm el-Sheikh about 2 years ago, in which $4.5 billion were pledged by many countries for the reconstruction of Gaza. So once we succeed in putting an end to the blockade, and we have this government of unity of technocrats to implement the reconstruction, then we expect many countries to put up the money that they pledged to begin the process of reconstruction.
Okay.
Now, of course, you refer to another issue.
Yes.
Immediately after we signed the agreement, the Israelis started punishing us.
Yes.
One form of the punishment that they inflicted upon us is hijacking our money, which is the taxes that they levy in all products that we import through their ports to come to the occupied Palestinian territory. Because we don't have control over our ports, we don't have control over our borders, everything has to come through Israel.
We'll go through Israel.
And they take fees for the collection of taxes on our products, so that they don't do us any favor.
Yes.
And what they're doing is illegal and violation of agreements between us and them.
Yes. Mr. Mansour, we'll get back to Israel, but you've just outlined the agreement that you're going to elect a prime minister designate, and then you'll go for the elections, and you'll determine the president, the parliament, and the national council. But there are lots of arrested people, both in Gaza and in West Bank. In West Bank, we see Hamas members. In Gaza, we see Al-Fatah members. So how will you exchange this? And how will you secure these two different lands? I mean, will Hamas and Al-Fatah will get together and secure those areas? Is there any agreement on that? Exchange of prisoners?
You see, other component of the agreement is that all political prisoners in the occupied Palestinian territory in the two areas to be released. And there are committees that are working on these things, and we hope that this will be implemented as soon as possible. So that's another part of the agreement. And of course, there are other parts of the agreement related to, security forces and unifying them. And the last part of the agreement is that there is a special committee and meetings that took place in the past to reform the PLO so that Hamas and Al-Jihad as two organizations to join other organizations that are constituting the PLO, so that all political groups to be part of the Palestine Liberation Organization, because the Palestine Liberation Organization is the sole and legitimate representative of all the Palestinian people, not only those in the occupied territory, but also those who are in the diaspora.
Yes.
Because we have one speaker on behalf of all of the Palestinians, not only one component of our people, and that speaker is the PLO, and the president of the PLO is President Abbas.
Yes.
In this connection, I just mentioned the two major functions of the new government that will be established. It will not have political responsibilities or responsibilities regarding negotiations. These responsibilities are the responsibilities of the PLO and the president of the PLO, which is President Abbas. And President Abbas reiterated the position that the PLO and its leadership, speaking on behalf of all Palestinians, now after we are unified, will be ready and willing to negotiate with Israel if Israel to honor and respect international obligations and their obligation and international law, and to negotiate on clear basis. What are the clear bases for negotiations, in addition to the terms of reference being international law, Security Council resolutions, Arab Peace Initiative, the Madrid Principles of Exchanging Land for Peace, and the roadmap. But the specifics of the principles is to start the negotiation on the basis of the borders of 1967, with accepting the principle of any minor adjustment to the borders acceptable to both sides. Jerusalem to be the capital of two nations. East Jerusalem is our capital. And the just solution to the refugee questions.
Yes.
And the settlement, since they are illegal, Israel has to stop all settlement activities in the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem. If these bases to be adopted by, let's say, the quartet, or articulated by President Barack Obama in his expected speech, and to invite the two parties to go back to negotiation on such clear basis and to reach a peace treaty from now until September, the Palestinian side, which is in the side of the global consensus on these issues, would have no problem in dealing with negotiations.
Well, we know how Palestine stands and how Israel stands. Just after hours you signed the reconciliation agreement, Israel said, okay, to Al-Fatah, that whether you choose us or you choose Hamas, because Hamas denies recognition to Israel and Israel considers Hamas as a terrorist organization. So, and Hamas leaders said we'll do everything for the Palestinians, which to some circles connoted that someday maybe Hamas will recognize Israel. Do you agree?
Well, first of all, there are two things. The first thing, Israel was always using the pretext of our division for the last 4 years of saying, we don't know with whom we should negotiate. Should we negotiate with President Abbas or should we negotiate with Hamas? So that they were using that as a pretext. Now, once we are united and we have one party to speak on behalf of all of us, which is President Abbas and the PLO, the Israelis are punishing us and saying that you have to choose between us and Hamas. So what is really happening by the Israelis are not serious about negotiations, and they are using excuses, our division not to negotiate and our unity not to negotiate. So what are we supposed to do? United, you know, they don't accept us. Divided, they say that we don't know with whom we negotiate.
But
that's the part regarding to Israel.
Yes, but
regarding
isn't it
Hamas,
also your fault, as the Palestinians' fault, to be divided?
Well, there is no justification whatsoever for our division. The unity of our people is the high interest of the Palestinian people. It is a dark history, a dark chapter in our history. It is very unfortunate. There is no justification for it, and there is nothing more greater and more noble than the unity of the Palestinian people. But it happened. It's very unfortunate. It is sad and tragic. But now we are looking forward because we have accomplished, or we started the process of accomplishing the unity among the Palestinians.